Welcome to the Wrestling Vault. This is a channel dedicated to some of the most out there professional wrestling opinions that the internet could have. By me, Khalid Qatata. Now that name may seem familiar to some of you because I have my own channel, which I will link in the description, where I talk about mostly all of my interests. But there is one interest that I have that peaks above everything else, and that is pro wrestling. But I've never had the balls to talk about it on my personal channel because I thought that it deserves its own channel, and now I'm finally doing it. For you watching me right now, you probably saw that the channel was made 1 year ago. Well, 1 year ago when Bray Wyatt passed away, I made a video talking about his passing and I uploaded it to both my personal channel and this channel. Both immediately got copyright striked by the WWE, so I just didn't have, decency to upload here again, especially since I was very busy at the time. But now I'm not busy anymore, so my schedule is full, so let's start a new era for me. Now in this video I'm going to be talking about a good amount of stuff: how I got introduced to wrestling, my favorite superstars, and what I want to see in the future for wrestling in general. So how did I get introduced to wrestling? Well, let's go back to the year of 2012, where I was scrolling on YouTube and there was this one video that caught my eye. It's about a wrestler named Brock Lesnar returning, and he would go on to beat up John Cena. Immediately you have two of my favorites over there, and then within the next 5 years I would keep seeing some stuff here and there about pro wrestling, but I was never a serious fan. I mean, sure, I would see the John Cena memes every now and again. And his name is John Cena! And I would know who John Cena is based on his history in the WWE, but that's pretty much it. It wasn't until 2017 where I truly became a big fan. One of my friends in the 6th grade reintroduced me to wrestling, and he showed me a wrestler called Roman Reigns. And now he showed me some clips of Roman Reigns doing his stuff, and I was like, okay, this dude is cool, I like him. Obviously I did not know of everything previously, and I was 11 years old, so forgive me for saying that. And I would then figure out that he would have a match with John Cena at No Mercy. I didn't see it, but I was intrigued. And then as time grew on, within 2018 and 2019, I would become a big fan, where every single time there was a new upload on the WWE YouTube channel, I would watch it, whether it's new highlights of Raw and SmackDown, clips of the pay-per-views. I did not know of bootleg streaming at the time, and I did not have the WWE Network, so I couldn't watch anything live from the WWE. But then, in 2019, when the WWE Network got redesigned, when it went from this design to this design, I finally got a subscription to the WWE Network at 13 years old. But the thing is that I'm obviously not able to stay up and watch these things live because in my country, these events start at 3 a.m. in the morning. They start at 7 or 8 p.m. Eastern time in the United States. Over here in my neck of the woods, it's at 2 or 3 a.m. And obviously as a 13, 14-year-old kid, I didn't have the decency to stay up for that long. So, I just ignored it. But then, I finally bit the bullet, and I watched my first ever show live. And it was the 2021 Royal Rumble. Yeah, I stayed up and I watched the entire thing. And I thought it was not a bad show at all. I got to see a new star made in Bianca Belair. It was the first time I saw her on the main roster. And, and I loved Bianca and I loved Rhea Ripley. They were some of my favorites in NXT. And I got to see Edge win the Rumble, which was my prediction, so I was happy it came to reality. And I saw Roman Reigns and Kevin Owens tear each other up in an empty arena. So yeah, it was a good time. I did not watch Elimination Chamber or Fastlane live, but I did watch WrestleMania 37 live, both nights. And from that point forward, I would go on a streak of watching every single WWE show live. And that streak has almost not ended up until today. Every single time, I can skip Raws and SmackDowns, but the pay-per-views, even in the Vince McMahon era, I was watching live. So that's a testament to my, ability now to watch these things live. Who are some of my favorite superstars of all time? Well, my favorite wrestler of all time is John Cena because of what he meant to me personally. Because I am someone who was a bit of an outcast in my life. I got, there was some prejudice going on. I was getting bullied all the time. When things like that are happening to you, you need that someone in your life to say, never give up, hustle, loyalty, and respect. And on top of that, when I was going back and looking at some feuds, like his feud with Edge or his feud with CM Punk, he was saying things that made sense to me. Like if I was a WWE wrestler and I was like in a promo battle, those are the things I would say. So that's why he resonated with me so much, and that's why he's my favorite of all time. And speaking of Edge, SummerSlam 2019, I wanted to watch that show live, but I couldn't because at the time I was 13. But in that show, Edge speared Elias, and I knew Edge. And I saw the highlight of him returning at the 2020 Royal Rumble. I didn't watch that show live, but, I was so hyped for that. Edge is definitely one of my all-time favorites. CM Punk is definitely on that list as well. We'll get to AEW in a moment, trust me. And in terms of, other male wrestlers, Roman Reigns now, with his current run, he is definitely up there. Cody Rhodes is now my main guy since John Cena. I love Seth Rollins. There's a lot of wrestlers that I'll put up on the screen now that probably are not popping up into my head. But yeah, I love a lot of WWE wrestlers, and it's a testament to why I'm able to, get behind many of these wrestlers. And same with the women. I love all four horsewomen, and I love some of the new generation women. So yeah, there's definitely more things to be said on that, I guess. Watching WWE during the Vince era was miserable at times because, I was there during the dark days, but I did not watch the show live. I just caught highlights, and, when you're catching highlights, you don't get to experience the darkness. I got saved by the darkness. And yeah, looking back, the Vince era was horrible. It was just bad. I loved The Fiend, and I wanted to see that match with Seth Rollins, but I did not get to see it live. Thank God. And now compare everything that Vince has done to now watching during the Triple H era, which has been an absolute blast these past 2 years. He's given me some of my favorite wrestling moments. I was going to say WrestleMania, but WrestleMania 40 is now creeping up to my second favorite show of all time. And we will talk about my favorite show of all time in just a second. So yeah, my favorite match of all time is actually in WrestleMania 40. It's Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. So yeah, I watched that match live and I was freaking out the entire 35 minutes. And for the people who are saying that the returns made that match 5 stars, you need to go back and watch that match. I watched that match a couple days ago, and I rated it 5 stars once again. You can see in this tweet, I'm mentioning it's 5 stars. And yeah, Roman Reigns and Cody, using weapons early, going to the outside. Roman Reigns' best spear of all time. Like, everything is in that match, including the returns and, Cody winning, which is such an emotional moment. So I did mention WrestleMania 40 as my second favorite pay-per-view of all time when you combine both nights, but my favorite pay-per-view of all time is Clash at the Castle. The first one. Funny enough, we have Clash at the Castle Scotland coming up, but I'm talking about the original one in Wales. Once again, stayed up to watch that. No, not stayed up. This thing aired at 8 p.m. in my time because it was in Wales. So yeah, actually getting to stay up, up until 8 p.m., up until like midnight to watch a WWE show live is a great experience because it doesn't happen all that often, so I'm always grateful for it. But yeah, Clash at the Castle, what a show that was to watch live. My favorite match from that is obviously Gunther versus Sheamus. They tore the living hell out of each other. To me, when I was watching that live, it felt like a match like straight out of the early 2000s, something like, I don't know, Austin and Angle, or like Triple H versus Rock, when Austin returned. Maybe somebody can name the shows those were at in the comments below, but that's what it reminded me of. Going bell to bell, beating the living shit out of each other. It was perfect. And it's funny that we have Clash at the Castle Scotland coming up in a couple days. So, I'll definitely, be watching that. I'll give my thoughts on that. But yeah, I love WWE. But, WWE is not the only company I've been watching during my entire time of watching wrestling. I first discovered AEW around late 2020, early 2021, and I was not really impressed by it at the time. People were saying, oh, it's the new alternative to WWE, and finally, because this thing is going to be good, there's hardcore wrestling, and it's not the hardcore wrestling that was bad. I just couldn't get behind some of the wrestlers and storylines. I mean, the only people that were intriguing me were the ex-WWE wrestlers like, Malachi Black and Cody Rhodes and, all those wrestlers like that. Pac, all those wrestlers like that. But then around Double or Nothing 2021, I started to get behind AEW because they were not doing this crappy stuff. They were focused on them and them only, and they were putting on some of the best stories in wrestling history. I fell in love with guys like, MJF, Wardlow. I loved Kenny Omega. I loved the Young Bucks. I fell in love with the Lucha Brothers. I loved Jack Perry. Keyword loved in the past tense. And then when CM Punk came to AEW, it was, peak everything, just peak. He had that match with Darby Allin at All Out, and that match made me a big fan of Darby Allin. And, getting to see Sting wrestle again at his old age was just a treat to see. Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson debuting. That is the best AEW show of all time. All Out 2021 is the best AEW show ever. My favorite storyline from AEW is CM Punk and MJF because everything about that is just perfect. But I also love the 2-year build up to Hangman Adam Page and Kenny Omega, where they had that classic match at Full Gear. That was very, very good. Like, I remember watching that and just, being in shock of what I was witnessing, because I never thought wrestling could get to that level, but it got to that level. So, big things. So as you can see, I love professional wrestling. There's nothing like it, and I feel like we're in a peak era of pro wrestling. A peak that we haven't seen since, the late 90s and early 2000s. Pro wrestling is back, and I'm very here for it. And I hope you guys will be on this ride with me. I'll be doing a bunch of analysis videos. Who knows, maybe I might shock you with some of the facts that I know, because trust me, there's a lot of memory up here. So please stay tuned for that. If you want to follow my personal channel, the link will also be in the description. But with that being said, I hope you stay on this journey with me. I'm out. Deuces. Ooses.